Good morning, everyone. Hope you're ready for this app economy panel. We'll be talking about the app market, and how it's going to affect the region. We've got with us very exciting panelists. Maybe if you can start with a small intro of yourselves, your company, and then we'll take it from there. Sebastien, we start from your end. Thank you.
Good morning. So I'm Sebastien Wakim. I manage Jordan, Lebanon, and Morocco for Uber. I've been with Uber for almost 3 years. And before that, I used to work in the consulting industry. Thanks.
I'm Yousef Wadi, the Chief Information Officer for ArabiaWeather and co-founder. I started off with ArabiaWeather as a Chief Product Officer, changed my title multiple times into Chief Information Officer, currently in weather for forecasting technology.
Hi, good morning. My name is Hamad Hisham, so I'm managing easytaxi in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and basically Middle East. I've been here with easytaxi for now 2.5 years. Previously working with other rocket internet ventures. So yeah, interested about today.
Great to have you.
My name is Sadek, Shunnar. I'm the CEO of Applexia. We have been working for the past 5 years in developing e-signature, digital signature and e-signature technology on the mobile platform and offering that on a B2B basis and B2B2C basis as well. Now we're launching a massive attack on the B2C, giving the e-signature tools eventually to the consumer.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is HussamHammo. I'm the founder of Tamatem. Tamatem is the leading mobile games publisher for the Arabic-speaking market, with over 40 games on the App Store, iOS and Android, and 25 million downloads to date. Excited about today and excited to be with you all.
Hussam, where's your Tamatem t-shirt?
The last time that I attended the conference, everyone thought that I'm 19 years old, so I decided to wear a shirt today.
Okay, the app economy. They say it's going to be around $100 billion by 2020. It has reshaped our lives. It has changed a lot of the value chains, the current value chains, especially the OTTs with telecoms. We're going to start this panel, or with yourselves, with a small poll to your estimate on the app economy in the Middle East. Can we have the first question, please? The poll, first one. Is it ready? You've got 5, okay. Fine. So they say that the app economy in the region might be too small, too large. What's your take on it? Is it enough to have all these companies working on apps? Shall we start with yourself, Hussam?
Okay. So, apps in general, we are just taking a portion of that industry with games only. In our researches, we are estimating that the market will reach $2.2 billion in 2022. And the most exciting thing in our industry is that
from in-app purchases or paid or
in-app purchases, paid, anything that people will pay for.
Okay.
But the most exciting fact and why we are targeting this market is because one of the countries, the biggest in the region, that is Saudi Arabia, has the highest average revenue per paying user in the entire world. If you want to compare that number to a country like China, China has an average revenue per paying user of around $31, while Saudi Arabia has $270 per user.
Per year.
So that's a significant number that we are tackling. If we want to look at the market as a size, yes, the market is really small. If you want to compare it to the international, we are following only the long tail when it comes to countries like Saudi Arabia. But the amount that you can make from such a small population is significant.
Do you have a profile of these $270 users?
Yes.
Is it they're male, female, young?
يعني mostly teenagers and up to 24 years old, male dominance.
Sadek, you have a different business model where you're working with, previously I heard just this morning that you have B2G. I've never heard that before. Can you explain more on it, please?
Well, the model is for the e-signature platform where government entities do not like sharing their documents and their signatures on cloud. Most of the cloud-based e-signature solutions, you'll have to let go of the document into their cloud, and your authentication or keys that you use for signing, for digitally signing, are usually stored on their cloud. Government entities and many of the private entities, even in the region, are still skeptic about pushing their data out to the cloud. When it comes to government, it's a no-no, definitely. So they all like to keep the documents inside their LAN and within their own network. So a good opportunity for mobile apps to be developed is to offer them applications that drive their business in that region. And this is one of the angles that we've attacked, which is for the executives to be able to get their correspondence, the paper-based correspondence, which is still heavy in the Middle East, on their phone while they're on the move, and be able to take action on it, whether drive it internally on the workflow inside their organization, or ultimately signing it and pushing it out of the system.
And your model is based on a user license
User
rather than
license
subscription?
Mainly user license when it comes to government.
Before I get to you, Hamad, you have also a B2G model, Yousef.
Yeah, so when it comes to weather, part of the B2G model that we have in mind is we want to make sure that the best tools are actually getting pushed out to the governments. And one of the interesting things about the governments is that they get a lot of the data free, but at the same time, they don't have the processing tools or the engines that could actually run these tools to provide accurate forecasts. And it came out of a need noticing that there's a trend in the technology background when it comes to these forecasters. So we're thinking about a SaaS model for the governments. And this way, they don't have to worry about infrastructure, because when it comes to weather technology, the simplest infrastructure is at least 20 to 30 servers. So instead of bringing all that on board, we'll just give you access over the cloud, and you'll have all the latest tools.
Okay, sorry about that. If we talk about, can you just talk about your recent,
The dust storm.
we've got two things, the Royal Met Society
Oh, yeah.
and your sandstorm.
Yeah, so we've been actively trying to get ourselves incorporated into global entities, and the Scientific Royal UK, the UK entity, we finally got in, and it's a big milestone for us because it actually proves that it's tricky. I mean, if you look at the founders of the company, we're all young people. The company in general has very young blood, so you're going into a very scientific PhD dominant market when it comes to weather forecasting, and being able to show that you are just as good and better in other areas and be part of that society is very important to us. When it comes to dust, one of the things that happened is that starting on local and then moving on to global is, now some people know that the story of ArabiaWeather started as Jordan Weather with Mohammed Shakir, and then it moves to ArabiaWeather. And we're at the verge of now looking at ArabiaWeather becoming a global weather forecaster. And what happened is that we forecasted dust automatically, and it was never done before. We're the first people to automatically forecast dust storms. And we were doing it specifically for Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, and Egypt. And from that, we got lucky, and the state of Arizona contacted us for the same solution, because they had the same problem that we didn't even look at. But it's interesting to see that there's the same problem somewhere else, and they're from a global perspective, and they're looking for it.
Okay. And you were not looking at the US market at all?
We thought that the US market was already saturated with the weather company, AccuWeather, and other companies, but it seems like there's still some other edge that we're building in the region that they have interest in.
Okay, okay. which takes us to easytaxi. You started off in Brazil, and you have a few markets in South America, and then you moved to Asia, I believe, and then to Middle East.
Yeah, so the concept basically branched out of basically a startup weekend in Brazil.
Okay.
It flew really well in the beginning when we launched in Brazil, in other markets in Latin, but then as soon as Rocket started showing interest in the model and they invested the money, and part of Rocket's philosophy is that we grow fast. So we started experimenting and testing the waters in all sort of markets, and wherever we felt that there was a great response. I mean, the Middle East, for example, gave us a very good response right from the beginning. So yeah, we came here, and for the last 2 years, we've been growing fast.
You're in all the Middle East markets, or 5, 6, or just in the Gulf and Jordan?
No, we're in Saudi primarily and in Jordan. So we also plan to move into other markets in the region.
Okay. Sebastien, on the Uber application in Jordan, previously it was only credit card, and just recently you launched cash, whereby easytaxi started the other way around. They started with cash, and then moved to credit card. So, how do you see the different business model and the way you're adapting to the local or the regional demand of the people?
So as you said, Uber started in the US in 2009. We're currently present in 400 cities. We're a global company. But as you said, we also need to adapt to local needs. And this is why we launched cash in Saudi and Egypt in 2015, and recently, around a month ago, in Lebanon, Jordan, and Morocco. And we saw a great response for this new payment channel, and we need to get there in order to cater for a larger portion of the addressable market.
Do you see any logistic issues regarding credit card payment versus cash payments with the drivers, with the deposits and all that stuff?
So far, no. We're working on solutions to make sure that this process goes very smoothly. It's definitely a change in the way we used to operate, but we have developed processes and systems to make sure this goes smoothly.
And you're using Amman or Jordan as a test market for you?
Currently, yes.
Okay. Hussam, and I read a couple of days ago from Sensor Tower Research, and I quote, in Q1 2016, 94% of US and Western iOS App Store revenue came from 1% of the publishers. So that's 623 publishers made $1.5 to $2 billion. And the rest of the 62,000 developers made 86 million. Yeah. So how are you surviving with these numbers? And previously we heard the 80-20 principle, but now we've got the 99-1 principle.
You know, the reason, I've been asked this question before, and the reason I believe why it is that, it's not because these games are better quality or they are targeting specific things. You will find below, like the number 1,000, you might find a nicer game than the top one. But the whole concept is that how the app stores are structured. When you open, if you have an iPhone and you open your iPhone, you will only see the top 20, top 30. And that drives why these people become successful. The whole concept behind the App Store and the app industry is to rank up in the charts. It doesn't mean that you don't need to build the best product, but even if you have a mediocre product and you manage to get it to the top of the charts, then you will have the chance of being with these people. How we are surviving in the market is because we are only targeting the Arabic market. And we always say that Arabic is the 4th biggest language in the world, and there is no content available for the Arabic users. And whenever we launch a new product, it immediately becomes #1 across the whole region. Our chances of being visible and for people to see us is so much higher. If I want to compete In the US market, then yes, I don't have a chance.
But if you look at, for example, the top charts now on Google, you've got the traditional messenger products, WhatsApp, Messenger, Facebook, etc., Snapchat, then Clash of Clans, Subway Surfers. So there's no language related to games.
Yeah.
People play without knowing the language anymore. There's
Absolutely.
no need.
You know, there are categories within the App Store that you will only select games if you are interested. And there is a dependency on the network that you can build and the effect and how can you reach and the message and user acquisition to let people download your games and play them. But it is absolutely correct that most of the people will only download the very famous, most popular, widely known titles, and there is a statistics that says that over 40% of all the apps available on the App Store have been downloaded 0 times.
Yes.
An absolute 0, not even once. I'm always wondering why the guy who developed the app didn't download it himself, but I don't know why.
Okay, before we go to the question, I have as an app developer or game developer, Boom Beach, for example, they have it in 24 languages from day one.
Yeah.
So how can you compete with this localization, Arabization? It's not enough just to have an Arabic game, because Boom Beach, Clash of Clans, etc., they can have it in your language.
There are a few things that if you want to build a successful app for the Arabic region that you will need to think of. First of all, these top publishers around the world, they will do it themselves, but they still need us for distribution, and they buy traffic from us, from our network. But for all the other games, we do not provide localization in the meaning of localization. We are providing culturalization.
Okay.
And for some of the major successful games, racing games, you might wonder, why do you need to localize a racing game? You would just like drive the car and that's it. But if you are doing a game for Saudi Arabia in specific, and you are adding a specific type of music that they listen to, the specific streets, the specific way of driving, the way that they drive their cars in Saudi Arabia, there will be no chance for any company like EA Sports with Need for Speed or all of these big titles. No one will do that or cater exactly for the Saudi and Khaliji audience. And this is, I believe, the power of culturalization over localization.
Okay. Can we take the first question for the audience, please? So, how large is the app economy in the MENA region today? We're talking about in-app purchases and paid purchases, not advertising. 100 million, 250, 500, or 1 billion today. And we can start the poll. It's open. Can we have some more votes? Because there's only 15 people voting. It's, yes, it's working. And if you can have it twice. Also, it's training for the local elections happening in 4 months. Okay, can I have the result? So today, the audience say it's around $1 billion. Okay, 250. What's your take on that? If anyone would like to take Hamad or want to comment on that? It's a billion, more, less? It's less?
I would say it's 500 million.
500 million. This is from paid or in-apps? Yeah, both. Can we take the next question? Because it's related as well. Next question. Okay, by 2020, where will app revenue in MENA come from? Paid apps, in-app purchases, advertising, or other? Let's have more responses. We've got 20 responses. It's similar to the regional elections. 50% of the people vote. Can we get the answers? Advertising. Interesting. Yousef, you have an advertising model. Can you talk about, please? So first of all, do you think it's 1 billion or less?
I think it's 500. I don't think
It's around the 500 million.
If we're talking about in-app purchases and
Yes.
and paid
Yeah.
apps, when it comes to advertisement, I don't really. My personal opinion or my gut feeling from the way I look at the numbers, I don't think advertisement is going to drag off to 2020 as a main driver for revenue.
Sorry, you don't think?
I don't think. I think we're going to move towards the in-app purchases. We're going to start seeing more of the premium type of payments coming into the region. The main reason I'm seeing that is that advertisement costs are dropping dramatically. A lot of competition is happening. The market size is not going to change, and we're not going to all be competing on the same ad spacing or units. There's a massive, unless the ad technology starts to change by 2020, I don't see how it's going to scale further to be the main driver of revenue for applications specifically.
Today in 2016 or this year, they expect $400 million of digital spend across all digital, mobile and browsers. And the forecast till 2020 is 1.1 billion. So of course 50%.
But we're talking when you talk specifically about applications in general, the technology behind advertisement is kind of limited. I mean, if you look at most of the advertisement nowadays is moving towards video advertisement. We have higher bandwidth of internet. We have higher speeds for streaming. So the preference of advertisement is moving towards video.
Video and native, maybe.
Native is one of them, but again, will it be a main revenue driver for companies? Can we survive on it? And can we keep adopting it is the biggest question that keeps going through my head, regardless of the size of the market, which as I understand is quite large. But as a company or as a product, could you actually survive on the advertisement money, or you're going to have to go in-app purchases? And when we go to in-app purchases, and we're starting to see that you can make a better margin, if other companies start to understand that, it's going to shift the tables around.
What about the 2%, for example, as ArabiaWeather, you're kind of selling your data, your analyzed data or your big data. So do you think that's going to increase from the 2% that's being forecasted, whereby you analyze, or maybe as well the easytaxi and Uber? Will you look at a different business model to rack in additional revenue?
So we are currently thinking about the in-app purchases, and we're not just looking at advertisement anymore, because we are in the advertisement business at the current moment. It's doing well, it's growing, but it's not the kind of growth that you really need. So if we want to sell that information, whether it's becoming very public, I mean, it's something that you can get anywhere, but maybe sometimes we are more accurate than others. Our overall rank is more accurate than others in the region, but it's not a driver for a person just to stick to you and gain money over advertisement in general. So if you have that edge, we came to a point where in-app purchases is critical. And the only way we can actually survive in the future is going through that path.
Hamad, what's your take on the business model, advertising? Are you going to enter that space?
No, to be honest, we don't have plans to enter into advertising, and I agree with him that with fintech developing, with more payment solutions coming out, and with telcos providing now different wallets, I guess in-app purchases is definitely going to drive. And also for on-demand services, I mean, Sebastien will probably agree with me that we're now moving into a space where we're using the infrastructure which is offline, and we're facilitating that infrastructure with the apps. I think we're going to use that as hubs to do on-demand services, which is more than just taxis, right? So it's operational, it's more offline, but again, that will be an extra monetization channel. I guess there are a lot different apps which are providing services which are offline, but again, you know, the technology is supporting them, and that hub will actually grow much further, and of course, in-app purchases is going to sort of facilitate that.
Okay, Sebastien, you worked on a group agreement in the region with a telco operator, with Zain. Why would you want to do that other than billing?
So we work with Zain mainly on the marketing partnership,
Okay.
and we launched it in the region, Jordan, Lebanon, Saudi, and it worked really well here as well. And to add on what Hamad was saying, for us, like the growth would come from what the technology will bring. So new products. We have Uber Eats, which is food delivery, Uber Rush, which is a pure delivery system that we're testing in the US, and also for the core product, which is transporting, providing the technology to transport people, we're looking at Uber Pool, which is facilitating the ride for several people under one ride. So the technology will have there, and this is where we see the growth.
Okay. If we go on to a different subject under apps, Sadek, I know you tried B2B, B2C, or B2B to B2C. What are the success variables with respect to your type of app, where it's very niche, whether it's government or enterprises? How successful is it? What it needs to success? And I heard that you're entering into new business model or new market segment.
Well, on the B2B2C, I believe there is a huge potential for many apps, not to mention just our technology, but just me focus on our technology. It requires the large players to move. People who have, for example, insurance applications or hospital management system or student management system, they all end up in the Middle East specifically, in one way or another, on the administrative level, having to deal with paper. Now, those players would need to move. What we do in the B2B2C is basically similar to what's called white labeling, but we prefer to call it co-branding. So we have our brand, and we push it through the application developers or system developers of correspondence management or insurance, which eventually gets the app published on the store in their name, and they take it down to their customer. So that's the B2B2C. The beauty in this model, if for entrepreneurs to think about, is basically, if you need to hit on those big customers, you can't do it yourself. You need to be out there everywhere. So you need to partner with existing solution providers who are in this specific region and who can access those large customers. But you can be a solution provider for them. Instead of just selling them on a one-time fee, you can actually be hands in hands with them in the market. So you'll be like their extended division where they develop this app in many areas.
Okay. If we look at, I mean, today your app is mainly for encryption, decryption of signatures for enterprises. Do you see consumers, the everyday consumer, to use such an app?
Definitely.
Can we talk about demographics?
Yeah, maybe in the Middle East, it's still confidence issue in putting signatures or encryption of document. But I see the market outside of this region, in the US and Europe, and you see many services coming up today which offer digital signature for users. You'll be surprised. Sorry, I was talking to a psychologist the other day, a friend of mine, and he was asking me, what do you do? And I told him we do e-signature applications. And he just mentioned, wow, I do sign signatures using a free application that's on the store. So that's a psychologist, not a technologist, signing NDAs and agreements on the mobile in Jordan, in Amman.
Wow.
I mean, that's where you can reach. The money in it is good. Subscription-based model is the driving force behind e-signature in the US market. People pay something like, businesses mainly, they pay something like $13 a month to be able to sign documents. Yeah, I'm sure most of the new generation companies do that. Individuals, like normal consumers, they will need to sign rent contract, car lease contract. Maybe the frequency wouldn't be high, but the volume. Now you need to play at the lower part of the pyramid. This is where the mass is.
Okay. Hussam, conversion rates. I mean, we've heard that paid purchases or even advertising, we're talking about in the region 1% of your active users pay. And then you've got less than 0.5% that click on an advertising banner.
Yep.
And from that, you've got maybe 30% of total downloads are active users after 60 to 90 days.
Sure.
So it's a very difficult model to keep on running. I mean, you need to continuously advertise.
Totally. You might think that this is the problem only for people here in the Middle East, but this is a very
It's
worldwide. But the exciting thing is here in the Middle East, it's still very cheap if you want to compare yourself doing the same thing in other markets. For example, with the techniques that we are using in our apps today or our games to get users, the cost of a user acquisition is as low as 1 cent US dollars. While if you compare us to anyone else in the world, they are paying anywhere between $0.50 to $4 per user. This is how we can afford. We are paying 1, 2, 3 cents for a user, and in a lifetime value, we might make 4 or 5 cents from that specific user. So we are on the profit side, which is. It is difficult that you will need to keep pumping and jumping and trying to get as many people as you can, but it's very similar to just printing money. It's interesting.
Okay. Any questions out there? I have a full list of questions with me, but anybody would like to ask the panel a few questions? You had your breakfast yet? So I'm going to continue until I see a hand up. Disruption. I mean, with taxis, Dubai is testing UDrive, and that's kind of disrupting your model up to an extent, I believe so. What's your take on that? We'll start with Uber and then easytaxi.
So, sorry, you said the taxi is, are we disrupting the industry or?
You're disrupting the industry, and then there's a new startup, let me say, called UDrive in Dubai. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hamad, you were talking about it before?
It's a very exciting concept, but I think it's still very premature to see that disrupting the markets.
But that's what people said on easytaxi and Uber and Kareem, 2-3 years ago.
The thing with UDrive is that...
Can you explain a minute about it?
I mean, the models that are already existing in the market, like easytaxi, like Uber, like Kareem, they're already thinking about, what UDrive is doing. I mean, this is their future plans already. So when UDrive grows out, branches out, and of course, we're going to be following suit very, very, very quickly. And of course, we have much more to offer. And like I said, we're not just moving passengers from one place to another. We're moving or branching out our models to becoming these hubs for deliveries for basically anything, food, fashion, or run deliveries. So I guess we have still, UDrive is definitely very exciting. I think it's a great concept. Just press a button and you get a car coming to you and you can drive it away. But of course, it will take some time to sort of kick in.